that's just the style that it is now. You can't stop it. You know, you can ban certain things. Yeah.
Well, as like Jim is like as a EVP of the company. If you were to the same spot today and you saw these guys, risk it. This is the thing: when you risk stuff like that and it doesn't work and you get hurt, you lose your asset. When the guy's out for 6 months, you've lost a televised asset to your company for 6 months. Okay,
I agree.
What would you be? It doesn't seem to me like there's anybody there in any company that's saying, "Hey guys, don't do that."
Here's the deal. I got your point. I got your question. The deal is this: you have those meetings individually. I ain't going to talk to Carlos and everybody else in the room together about slowing their shit down, because I have to give you a fundamental, real illustration of what I'm talking about. I can't do that with 100 guys in a room. We ain't got time, and you don't want to hear me talk that long. So the guys that I believe they're taking too many bumps on the apron, which I'm not a proponent of. Especially, I saw a New Japan match today where somebody took, I think, 1 or 2 brain busters on the ring apron.
Yeah.
I said, now here's the thing. There's no margin for error, but they apparently got by it. But I would talk to the guys individually. I would keep in mind, I'm not going to kick this guy's confidence in the nuts. I'm going to build him up because that's what he deserves to do. But he needs to understand that from our office perspective and upper management perspective, that we believe he will be as big a star if he has 1 or 2 less high-flying moves, and the ones that he does leads to a win or a loss. Now, let me give you an illustration on that deal. One of my favorite guys to broadcast for back in the day with Cowboy was Chavo Sr., Chavo Classic.
What a great wrestler he was, bro. He was my idol growing up. Go ahead.
Shit, he was. If people don't, you know, YouTube this dude, man. And there's a lot of that Mid-South stuff on WWE Network that you can find those gems like that. But
JR, let me just say something. Let me say something real quick. You know the Northern Light suplex, right?
Yep.
He was doing that way back then. And do you remember what he used to call it?
I probably know when you tell me.
What a great name, the Mexplex.
Yes, Mexplex.
Tremendous.
He got hot at me one time. He said, "You're not so smart, you know." And I said, "Well, I didn't say I was, Shaw." I said, "You can even speak 2 languages." I can. Can you? No, you can't. I'll answer it for you. So he said, "What do you got to say about that?" I said, "I said, C or something." It pissed him off. We just had.
He had a tremendous temper, but go ahead.
Ooh, yeah. Hey, but here's the deal. My point is this: Chavo Guerrero was the first guy I ever saw do a moonsault. Now there might have been others before him. You know, if they're not, somebody will lie about it. Said they did it. But bottom line is, he was the first guy I recall doing a moonsault, especially on television. And the moonsault generally led to, if you hit it, he beat you with it. If he missed it, you took over and you took care of business. So basically, if he hits this moonsault, he wins. If he misses the moonsault, he loses. Now, for the fans, they know when Chavo goes up top, and that's the only thing he went to the top for, that he's either going to, in their mind's eye, win the match with what he does, if it's successful, or he's going to get his ass beat because there's going to be a calamity here. Somebody's going to roll out of the way, put their knees up, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So and he did it one time. One time, he didn't do 10 moonsaults. You know, occasionally he might do if he had somebody that could work with him, he'd do a tope. But I swear to God, these guys are doing topes and landing on their feet like they're a cat. I don't get that.
It's ridiculous.
That tells me it reeks of synchronicity and pre-planning and choreography. That's what the hell that does.
Right. They're so busy trying to get this as an awesome chant. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the problem with the work where the old school skills could come into play that these guys, like this new generation guys, aren't losing. They're not doing anything, the things you need to do to hide the cooperation. It's like, you know, when like you watch Eddie Guerrero and Benoit wrestle each other, they're cooperating with each other, but it never, ever at any point looks like it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The spots in the matches where there's cooperation and it's obvious, bro, I'm just telling you, this is what I think has happened to professional wrestling is that, and the reason it's lost a lot of fans, is if we've damaged the suspension of disbelief so much with this style of work, is that people see too much stuff that just looks too fake. And
well, here's the thing about that, what you're saying, and you may be right. You certainly, I respect your opinion, but you'll get the other side of the coin that says, well, there's probably more people than the last decade or more making a living in the wrestling business. And it could be Aero Lucha, it could be Ring of Honor, it could be Impact, and whatever, the Indies. You know, there's Danny McDivitt there in Maryland's got a hell of a company, and they do a lot of nice shows on a monthly basis. So there's a lot of those like that. And so I'm just saying to you, I know that the guys at WWE must be making a great money, and I just can't imagine people making an argument the business is not good. Look, Disco, it may not be good from your eyes or my eyes as far as practical execution, but the money's there for all of us. A little podcast money, a little sell my book money, your Slobberknocker book. It's on its fourth printing, by the way, at Amazon and Barnes & Noble and so forth. But nonetheless, we have opportunities. I went to Wichita, Kansas the other day as a favor to a local promoter here. I did a meet and greet, and I sold my gimmicks, as they say. I had a gimmick table, and I left there around $1,500 in Wichita on the gimmick table. Now, that might not be a lot of money to a lot of guys, but here's the deal. I had fun. I met my fans. I enjoyed talking to them. There was no rush, no hurry. I respected them, and I got to show them that respect. And they bought some nice sauce and some barbecue sauce and ketchup, all that crap. So anyway, it gives us, the business right now has given many of us ways to make an ancillary couple of bucks here and there on the various WrestleCons and all those neat things. So I don't know how bad it is, man. I really don't.
And JR, let me just add this real quick. So I think a couple things. Number one, would I be correct in to say that I think last year WWE made like more money than they ever had, or it was very profitable, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So they're making a lot of money. I've been in the business 30 years. I've never seen the indies this hot, and globally. Okay.
Right.
I know a lot of people say that there's less people watching TV, but again, you know, there's other platforms you can watch it on. All right.
Well, that's exactly right. The measuring stick has changed. The TV, if you just go on how many viewers and compare it to, like, I can show you where Monday Night Raw back in the days of me and Lawler or Heyman has done shows with 6 or 7 million people watching a show. But then it was the primary source of content. That's how you accessed it, TV.
Right.
Now I can watch it on my phone or my computer or my iPod, whatever the hell it's called.
Right.
So it's just you can't measure it the same way, Disco, because the game changed.
Can I say another thing? Real quick. Another thing, real quick. And another thing, I've never seen in my life, because now that it's so easy to get into the business, I've never seen so many African Americans. I've never seen so many smaller wrestlers. I've never seen so many Latinos. I've never seen so many women. There's a lot of people making money off of wrestling. And then 10 years ago, JR wouldn't have been making money off of a podcast, off of one-man shows. Like you said, there's ancillary income. I mean, it's thriving right now. And of course, would we like it to be like it used to? Yes. Do I get super frustrated? And so does Disco. And I know you have to be diplomatic, JR, watching a lot of the shit they do in WWE, compared to what we grew up with, especially the Attitude Era, where a lot of the stories were so brilliantly written. And a lot of the stuff you see now seems like it's written for kids, and you roll your eyes. And I honestly can't get through a show for 3 hours. Disco actually hooked me up with like the Sports Center version of it. There's a thing now, JR, where you can go and watch like a 30-minute edition of WWE. It's just the highlights.
Yeah. Huh.
Jim, let me ask you this. When did you break into the business?
1974.
1974. I broke into 1994.
I was just before you broke into this earth.
Right. No, I'm 67. I was born. I'm 50. Yeah. So get all of this. So I broke in 91. And when I went and tried out, okay, I had never seen a Wrestling Observer newsletter, a Pro Wrestling Torch. I had no clue what those things were, right? So like 91, like that, and then I was kind of like on the bell curve at the fringes of that time in the business when, I watch it on TV and I'd see the guys kind of talk to each other, but I didn't know how it worked until I went and trained to become a professional wrestler. It's like, as education has basically, made its way into this business and basically taught everybody how to work over the past 20 years, like everybody knows how before they ever start. So what I've seen was, like, back then when I broke in, is pro wrestling went out and found tough guys and taught them how to work. It's like now we go out and they're finding acrobats. It's like there's not a lot of tough guys anymore. It's like they've got acrobats that already know how to work. And it's funny, bro. I train here at FSW. There's so many kids who say, like, hey, have you ever been to fight? And like, no. I'm like, God. It's like, well, where do I?
JR.
How do I guide it to fight? to stimulate a fight. It's never been a fight before.
JR, this is what I think has happened. I'm sorry, DI. This is what I think has happened, JR, and tell me what you think about this. I actually do believe this. When I broke in, right? So there were a lot of tough guys. There were a lot of men, okay? And now you see like a lot of young guys. I mean, how many guys could be on the roster that's over 40 years old in WWE? And if you look back 20 years ago, there were probably a lot. It's a younger game. And on top of that, it's almost like it's gone from like a sport to what it is now, sports entertainment, to like an art. You know what I'm saying? It isn't so much a sport like it used to be, because before it was predicated on that it was real. Now it's predicated on that's entertainment.
It's a different presentation. It's not Jim Brown getting 30 carries a game.
Right.
It's about Tom Brady throwing 50 passes.
Right.
The game has changed. That's why left tackles for right-handed quarterbacks and cornerbacks, because they have to defend these plethora of passes, are making more money now than at any time in the history of the National Football League. They're having to recruit up, get better players for key positions, and so that's why the
right. There's guys that just come in on third downs.
Yeah, the running game is not non-existent, but it's not as stressed. So therefore, all the litany of great middle linebackers has kind of started to fade away, because that position was used to counteract the running game. The fullback, well, most teams, they have a fullback, they call him an H-back. He's a tight end, a slot guy, whatever. Right. So I'm just saying the presentation continues to change in this deal. Same
thing, JR, in basketball. It was a center-centric game. What does the center? Now the centers are shooting three-pointers.
Exactly. And they're just there for garbage time to get some rebounds and pass the ball out to the three-point line to somebody shoot it again, you know. We got that here. Steven Adams is our center at Thunder. He's a hell of a player, big New Zealand kid, strong.
He's awesome.
Big, tough guy. But all he does is basically sweep the boards on both ends, especially on offense, and then look for us. Westbrook's there somewhere, and he's hovering that three-point line, getting the ball because he wants to shoot it. Or Paul George or Carmelo when he wants to play. But the deal is it is a young man's business, Carlos. You're right on the money, man. You're right on the money. And I believe that for guys like me in broadcasting, it's a daunting thing, because I've had meetings in L.A. last week with a couple of big reality show people, and they have sought me out because I am a AARP guy. I am still somewhat cognizant, and so they're looking at me to doing some things to fit that demographic, because we're growing to be older, so my age group has more population than it ever has in the history of our world that we're aware of. So it is a young man's game. And that's why I don't know that somebody said, could you do Monday Night Raw? Of course I could do it. Could I do it as good as I used to? It would be different because the product is a little different. So I would sound different. I have to put a lyric to the music. And you guys that did such a great job in the ring, you wrote the music. I heard it, and I gave you a lyric that I hoped it would work. So the lyrics, the music changes. So it changes your lyrics. And when you do your lyrics. But my issue has never been Jones to get back on Raw or SmackDown or anything. You know why? It's 52 weeks a year in the airport.
Yeah,
are you kidding me?
That's a grind. So that's a grind. When you're young, you don't give a shit.
Yeah. I think the one thing that you were the master of that nobody else has ever been as good as you is when when the Attitude Era went towards, when the writing of the show went more towards a lot of entertainment, a lot of backstage stuff and everything. The way you narrated the show was just so good that you lent excitement into two guys cutting a promo on each other.
I can only speculate, Carlos, it's because of shorter term planning. Back when here's the thing. Think about it this way, because I was right in the middle of all this. The early time there, we had 4 major pay-per-views a year. Then we did the 5th one. Everybody thought, oh my God, it's going to kill everybody.
Right.
5 a year. Wow. So then, when you had your big moves, your big tent poles were the pay-per-view. You planned pay-per-view to pay-per-view, or you planned pay-per-view to this pay-per-view, or you planned the middle of the year to WrestleMania, whatever. They had a destination that was easier to navigate and time to make it happen. For some reason, and maybe there's too many cooks in the kitchen, heck, I don't know. I'm not there.
Right.
But they don't seemingly take the time they used to in establishing something and playing it out. Because sometimes when they do, guys like you and me, Disco, well, it's too predictable. We knew Reigns was going to wrestle Lesnar a long time ago. So get back to that cat chasing his tail thing. So, I don't know, man. I just think that they do some long-term planning on a high end. That was Vince's. That's always been Vince's really one of his gifts. There is building the main events, and we had a different roster too. People say, why can't it be the Attitude Era anymore? Well, you go find me a Stone Cold. You go find me a Rock. You bring Shawn Michaels back after 4 years of being gone. You have another heel named Triple H that's getting better and better. You got the Hardys and the Dudleys and the Edge and Christian. So go find me all those guys, or even better yet, go find me guys that are better than them. Good luck. You guys know these great stars are growing trees, and they can't be manufactured by and large.
Right. Yeah, it's like I remember when Rey Mysterio left, one of the things that he had actually heard was like, oh, we'll just find another Rey Mysterio. And I was like, well, good luck with that one. And they're still, they didn't find him, so now they want him back. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and they should have him back. He should be there. In my view, I'm biased. They'll take good care of him. He'll work less days. He'll get paid good money, no doubt. And if he has any issues medically, and God knows, knock on wood, man, his little body's taking a lot of bumps.
Yeah.
You never know. So you got to have that in that card to play. And I think that's great. But the same thing happened in Mid-South. When JYD left Mid-South to go to New York, he gave no notice and he left. Obviously, he was on top big time, but his work had started slipping. So instead of turning Butch Reed, which we eventually did, which was my idea to start with, it's just seamless. It's easy. We overthought it, Bill Watts and I. So we brought in a litany of black guys. The Sandman, the Snowman. He earned that name rightfully. Snowman. Brickhouse Brown. Funny story. Bill, we were in a booking meeting, and we brought in Brickhouse Brown to the Holiday Inn Airport in Shreveport, and he told Joel to go find. He said, "Go find Brickhouse and bring him in here." It's me and Bill, Ernie Ladd, and Joel. So Joel went out there, and Bill's right in the middle of a thought. Joel comes back in, bad timing. I don't see him anywhere. Well, do you know his real name? So then Bill asked Ernie, what's his real name? I don't know, boss. All I was ever known as Brickhouse. So Bill gets mad. He's even more madder. Joel interrupted his thought. Ernie don't know the answer. So Joel goes back out, red-faced, because the old man took a piece of his ass. And so the next thing I know, on the PA of the hotel, well, Mr. Brickhouse Brown, please report to the front desk. That's Brickhouse Brown. And I fucking started laughing so hard I could not stop. It was the funniest damn. It could only happen in wrestling. And what a scene that would be for a movie or a TV show.
That's
Brickhouse
awesome.
Brown. So then he walks in, and Bill never seen him. He's jacked up, probably a little saucy, but he's 5'9", 5'10". At least JYD was 6'3". So Bill looks at Ernie like, you don't know his name, and you bring me a midget. So it's like, it was just that we tried the same thing to remanufacture the dog, and it didn't work. They're not going to make another Rey Mysterio. There's only one. They could get a lot of guys with bald heads and goatees and let them shoot the finger, but they're still not going to be Stone